Guess who didn't press the play button when they had to tell the story of the desert eagle at the range? Luckily, it's the video of the disassembly and shooting the facts. Well, what can I say about the desert eagle? The desert eagle is a pistol surrounded by many myths, and mainly these myths are linked to video games, where the desert eagle is presented as this super powerful pistol, especially military, which it is not, but let's go in order. In America and also in other parts of the world, often there may be a need for a big pistol for two reasons. The first reason is hunting with a pistol. Yes, it's a thing. A lot of people hunt with a pistol. And the second reason is defense in remote places from dangerous animals like bears or wolves. People want to carry something that can take out a bear. In theory, perhaps, if you're a hiker in the wild mountains of Alaska, it's something useful to have with you. Usually the big guns are revolvers, not the Desert Eagle. At some point, American Magnum Research said, why don't we try to cram a huge cartridge that's usually only meant for revolvers into a semi-automatic? And that's what they did. They essentially created a novelty to try to break into that big gun market. For those who either hunt or need to defend themselves from bears, essentially. And that's the only real use for that gun because it's extremely heavy, bulky, hard to shoot, essentially difficult to place two shots in quick succession. If a bear is 5 meters away, that's exactly what it's for, and it's fine. I really want to emphasize this. There's this idea caused by video games and a bit by movies that armies use it. And this myth is a bit, let's say, underscored by a quarter of truth, which you can also find on Wikipedia. If you go on Wikipedia on the American page of the Desert Eagle, it is said that the Portuguese and Polish special forces use it, so I started researching. Why? Because I assure you that it has no reason to exist in the military world. The gun is too heavy and powerful for the army. It's about weight and logistics. It's unusable for the average soldier. And I dug up this information from the Portuguese army and the Polish army about the Polish army. There is a page, which by the way is no longer there, it has been archived, that said that the Polish Special Forces, the so-called Grupa Reagowania Operacyjno Manevrowego, are equipped with a series of pistols. Not all of them are used, and among the list of not all used, there is also the Desert Eagle. At some point they must have played around with some pistols. They keep them in their warehouse, but they certainly don't use them in combat. I found something similar for the Portuguese Special Forces. That is, in particular, I found a photo with weapons laid out, let's say, on display in some documentary. And there were some Desert Eagles. But even there, I think that, in my opinion, if we put some big guns, we make a cool figure for these television cameras, or I don't know what. No one serious, especially the Special Forces, would use this thing. And among other things, all these Desert Eagles are in the smallest available caliber, which is the .357 Magnum. That's all from these considerations, as there's little else to add. And I will explain. You will now see what I shot at the range, where I explain a bit better how it works. This is just a brief introduction. As for the myth of the Desert Eagle, well, the Desert Eagle is a large caliber semi-automatic pistol. In fact, it's the only large caliber pistol that uses these large calibers, usually for revolvers, in a semi-automatic pistol. Its peculiarity is that it uses a gas system essentially like that of the M16, except that here it has a long stroke piston rather than direct impingement like the M16. We have ambidextrous controls for the safety, the hold open lever for when there are no rounds in the magazine, and of course the magazine itself. With its release lever, the trigger has only single action. This particular model also has these rails for mounting optics and other accessories, because this gun, as I told you, is actually created for the sports market. It's a huge lie that the military uses it, because the military has no use for this gun. It's essentially a hunting gun, literally for hunting with guns, something that is done, something I also told you in my video about the Rugal Red Hawk 44. Magnum. It is also used as a defense weapon, for example, for hikers in remote areas in North America who may encounter dangerous animals, wolves and bears. It was created for this reason. The fact that it's in many video games is completely ridiculous because, I repeat, It has no military use. What's confusing is that it was produced for a long time by the Israeli military industry, so there's a military industry that produces it, so it must be for the army. Absolute lie. To disassemble it, we have to press this button on the other side. It has a lever, and among other things, it will snap a bit forward because there's a bit of a spring. Here, good. Now I can remove everything. I have the heavy rod, which can be changed for different lengths. It's a bit the typical shutter. We notice that on the cart, there is essentially the gas intake, which causes the rotation of the shutter, obviously in the barrel. Here there is a small hole that is not very accessible, but what causes the disassembly? The double recovery spring. That's all, the entire firing group in one piece. And as you can see, the shutter is very reminiscent of those on the R15S and M16SA rotating shutter. If you go and watch my video on the M16, you'll notice a certain resemblance. This whole system, except for the fact that it's actually a long stroke piston, is very similar. This system is necessary because the weapon fires really powerful ammunition. Other systems simply wouldn't be able to handle it. Now to reassemble it, didn't you perhaps see it? But I killed myself. Why do two pieces need to align perfectly? The thing is not very intuitive, so I was here trying to figure out why the hell it didn't want to reassemble correctly for a while. But finally I figured out how to do it. In the correct sequence is to partially insert the slide, insert the recoil spring, make sure that here a small piece is perfectly aligned. Great. And now I can finally reinsert the barrel. If the gods of weapons want, and the gods of weapons clearly want today, it will work correctly. And this simple step that you saw in 20 seconds, it took me 10 minutes to figure it out. Know why that damn little piece that is the gas piston has to be rotated into the right position. And unfortunately, I don't have a manual nearby. Well, now we're going to test it on myself by firing it to see if it's actually assembled correctly. What can I say? Here we are with the Desert Eagle big iron on his hip. He's a little scared. Okay. It's a little scary at first, but then it's quite controllable. The trigger surprised me. The trigger is really a great trigger. I'm not surprised it's used for sporting purposes like hunting, because you can really make very precise shots with this gun. What can I say? In the end, we're always fascinated by these strange, somewhat large things. Surely the idea that the military could use it is a bit ridiculous, but for making a video game or a movie, it's always cool, don't you think? Well, that's all from me. See you next time.